right. All right, this first one has to be easy. It's really easy to forget the poor little plus or minus. Remember, it's squared, so I have to get two answers. So if you have an equation with a cube in it, you have to get three answers. So if you get one answer from a cube equation, that is telling you you've done something wrong, or you have not done enough. Normally, is what that means. How do I do this one? Yeah, make it look like the first one. And then I take square root, plus or minus. So I get m equals plus or minus 4 times 7, right? For 28. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of negative is I. And then the 7 is left inside. How are we doing so far? Those two should not be difficult. You can't just stop at rad 28. It's just like stopping at 8 over 16. No, you reduce the damn thing. Here, you got to simplify it. So what do I do with this guy? What's in the wrong place from the beginning? 12. And there, 12 is in the wrong place. So this is negative 12. I add 12. Yes?
I'm sorry, this is for B. The 2 in the square root of 7 is like when you multiply.
Yeah, so here's the steps there. That's what I have, right? So this is the square root of negative 4 times the square root of 7. Square root of negative 4 is 2i. The square root of 7, I don't know. So it's just simplifying the radical by breaking it up into parts. Parts that I can do, parts I can't do. Here, now I'm at the step where I can square root, both sides. Right. Somebody's already completed square for me, which is really nice. So square root, die. 3x minus 4, plus or minus. Plus or minus rad 12, of course, is rad 4 times rad 3. So it's 2 rad 3. Is that cool? Rad 12 is rad 4 times rad 3, which is 2 rad 3. Bam! And then I just have to add 4 and divide by 3. So there's your answer.
Why didn't you divide by 3 first?
Why didn't I? Because if I divide by 3 first, I very often forget to divide this part by 3 also. And I make fractions before I have to. That's why you almost always divide last, so you don't make fractions too early. If I'm solving, where do I want the fractions to show up? Last. Right when I'm done. Fractions, I'm done. If you do in the middle, like, fractions, oh shit, I gotta do shit with fractions. And I don't blame you. Like I keep saying, I don't want to work with fractions either if I don't have to. Even though I can kick the shit out of them, I'm human, I still don't want to work with them because if I have an option, because I'm going to make mistakes more likely. I like it, yes.
So why didn't you complete the square or something like add 12?
Do you see how completing the square means taking a bunch of x stuff and putting them together? Do you see how this was already put together for me? This is all my x stuff is right in a nice little package. There's no x stuff wandering around. They're already all together. That's what completing square does. Get it all together under square, because then I can just square root it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have to cube it too next time, next section. Yeah, look at that grid.
No. We did a problem already with a cube. We can do another one if you want to. All right, so what about this guy? This is the right form for completing the square, right? Because it's already got room made. Did I turn you on? Yes. So the two steps are divide by 2. And then you take that and square it. So what am I going to add? 4. Better do it to both sides. And now this will factor like what?
X
X
minus
Good, minus 2 squared.
equals
And now it's a problem just like what we had down there. I can take
square.
square root. And of course, rad 12, we already did one of those. It's 2 rad 3. And then if you add 2, you get there. All right, so you do that one. So whichever one you like better. If I said solve this by completing a square and you like quadratic better, you could on a scratch piece of paper solve it quadratic, and then at least you know what the answer should be. So you can kind of check where you make a mistake.
I feel like they're the same. I can't really, I don't see the difference. I mean, I see it, but I don't.
The difference between what? We haven't done a quadratic one yet.
Oh, so
Up
did
here.
you show us before?
Yes. You will. All right, let's do this one right now then. It's drastically different because what's the first step? Write the answer down. The first step for quadratic formula is to write the answer down. It's just not simplified yet. You guys. So what's the first step on quadratic here? What's ABC? What's A? 1. B? And does everybody see how I moved the 8 over? Otherwise, it's not in the right form. So now I know C should be negative 8. So I write, the answer is, that's a little different from this. Right? And then I just write that, and now I do, yeah, negative B. So negative 4 is 4. Plus or minus the square root of B squared, 16. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 8. All over twice 8.
I guess when you were showing us how you got the formula for quadratic.
No, of
formula,
course. Of
yeah.
course it was. Because quadratic formula comes from
Yeah.
using completing the square. But we don't start at the beginning every time. That's we just start by throwing shit in there because that's the result. So do you understand what I mean by
Yeah.
quadratic formula? You write the answer first,
Okay.
but then you have to simplify it. So it is kind of a shortcut because you start with the
Super
answer.
shortcut.
Yeah. But like I said, though, there are problems that completing square is actually quicker. Believe it or not. It's because the simplification over here gets sometimes is gross. And it didn't have to be. So you end up with 4 plus or minus. Negative 4 to negative 8 is positive 32. So you get square root of 48 all over 2. Which is 4 plus or minus 48 is 16 times 3. Square root of 16 is 4. So I get 4 rad 3 over 2. So I can divide both of these by 2. I get 2 plus or minus 2 rad 3, which thank God is the right answer, the same answer. I feel pretty good. So less of a chance that I made the exact same mistake 2 times in a row. Right? It's a little more likely that that's the right answer. Alright. So now, to complete the square for this guy, what do I have to do?
Divide by 2.
Yeah, shit. Divide by 2. So I get x squared plus 5 over 2x. Might as well move the 3 over. Is this cool?
So quadratic formula is divide.
Completing the square, you divide first. Because completing the square is built on there being a 1 there, and then I can focus all my attention on this guy. Quadratic formula has a place for A, B, and C, so it doesn't matter what A is? No.
You can't complete the square if the x isn't 1 though, correct?
If the coefficient of the x is not 1,
Then you can't.
completing square won't work.
Yeah.
Because it's hardwired on that being 1. It kind of like, that's why I can focus. What's everything deals with this guy, doesn't it? That's where everything starts. Why? Because I've put all the stuff right in that guy. There's nothing in the front that's also going to screw things up. That's why it has to be a 1 first.
Gotcha.
So what's the steps now?
You multiply it by a half.
Yeah, good. Since it's a fraction, I want to cut it in half, which I could do by multiplying that by a half. I like it. You get 5/4. The second step is
Square root.
square what you get.
25 over.
Cool. So that's the little side completed square work. What goes here?
25 over 16.
Yeah, so that goes here. If it goes there, it better also go there, right? Can't change one side without changing the other. And then this guy goes there. And how do I do this side? I have to, yep. So this guy just needs the whole freaking 16. Negative 48 plus 25.
Negative 23.
Negative 23. Should carry a freak out. There's so many kinds. And now I'm at the place where I can square root exactly. I like it. So what's the square root of negative 23?
5.
I rad 23. And what's the square root of 16?
4.
4. So subtract 5/4 and you're done. Negative 5/4 plus or minus I rad 23 over 4. You could put the whole thing over 4, right? Negative 5 plus or minus I rad 20, all over 4. Doesn't matter. So we do it with quadratic formula. There's A, B, C, right? So now I just got to throw it in because I've already determined the form of the answer. So x equals, yeah, negative b, so negative 5, give or take. Yeah, 5 squared, 25 minus 4 times a times c, all over
2a.
twice a, I love it. You get negative 5, give or take, square root of 25 minus 48, all over 4. I get negative 5, give or take. That'll be negative 23, of course, so it'll be I 23 over 4, which is the same answer. There you go. All right, negative 5 over 4, bam. Plus or minus add right 23 over, bam. Just plug and chug. That's all quadratic formula is. And then this guy, since the b squared minus 4ac is the thing that's in the root, it's all I have to look at to determine what kind of answers I'll get. So what's b? Negative 8. So negative 8 squared minus 4 times a times c. I get 64 minus 8, 56. That is positive. Since it's in a square root, will it come out complex or will it come out real? A positive number. It comes out real. So I'm going to get 2 real answers. Let's follow it up with this. B squared minus 4ac. So it'll be 2 squared 4 minus 4 times 3 times 8. This guy doesn't have a chance. 4 minus big shit, right? What is that, 96?
Yes.
So I get negative 92. Big time less than 0. It's going to come out to be 2 complex answers. Because b squared minus 4ac is in a square root. So if it is negative, the result is imaginary. It's going to make a complex number. Don't let that be a big deal.
Where'd you get the 4AC?
From the formula.
Okay.
Yeah. B squared minus 4ac is the piece that is in the square root. So look. Can you tell me if this number I'm writing right now is this complex or is it real? What's the only piece that matters? That number, negative 11. It's in a square root, so that makes it complex. So look, what would I look at here in this whole thing? What's the only piece that makes it that I can see if it's going to be complex or real? That thing, because it's in a square root. So that's the only thing I have to check. If the problem says don't solve this, just tell me if it's going to be real or complex. And you're like, I got a 50-50 shot at this shit. You don't guess. Just look at b squared minus 4ac. If it's negative,
Or it's positive.
it's going to be complex. If it's positive, it's going to be real. If it's 0, it's going to be 1 real answer. Because then this whole piece just disappears and you just get negative b over 2a.
So 0, 0, 0, we get 0.
If
0,
b
1.
squared minus 4ac is 0,
Yeah,
there's only one answer. It's actually repeated twice, but there's only one
answer,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
So if you get 0 in the square root,
Yeah. You ready? Here.
what is it plus?
Here's an example of that. X squared minus 8x plus 16. So b squared minus 4 times a times c. Negative a squared is 64. What's 4 times 16? 4 times 16. 64. So I get 0. So sure enough, this thing would have one real answer. So why does it make sense? How do you factor this? How do you factor this? How do you factor this guy?
X minus 4.
Ah, what's the only answer you get? 4. I get one real answer. It's repeated, but it's just that, the answer is 4. That's all I would say. I wouldn't say the answer is 4 and 4. You feeling all right, man? All right. Let's any questions? Any other questions? Let's take a break. Let's let you decompress a little bit. Come back at 5 till. Yeah, 5 till.